Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. Hit that sub button if you're new. We're here to give you great NFL content. Please tune in.
Speaking of panic meters, we got to go back to San Francisco, and I know you got to be a little nerved here. CMC is facing a significant injury. George Kittle out. Now we're seeing, Deebo. Now we got news that Javon Hargrave is out for the season with a torn tricep, and Brock Purdy is day-to-day with back soreness. Richard, where's your head at with San Francisco? What's the level of panic now?
It's starting to get up there, Metro. It's probably a 7.5, 8. Just because, and this is what I'll say. I'll preface it with this. It's tough in the National Football League, and it's tough to consistently go late into the playoffs in the National Football League. I don't think people understand the fatigue that puts on your body. And I know people will bring up the Kansas City Chiefs and what they've been able to do, but they've been able to do it. And then a lot of times they refresh a lot of that roster. I mean, they have their standard pieces of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Justin Reed has been on the team a couple of years, but a lot of these pieces change. George Karlaftis has got him a couple. Chris Jones is obviously a foundational piece. But if you look at the tackles, the tackles have been different for a lot of their Super Bowl runs. You look at it, it'd be two different tackles for one Super Bowl, different tackles for the next Super Bowl, different tackles for the next Super Bowl. And if you look at their defense, their secondary, they find corners. They're doing a great job of drafting and developing players. And that goes to L'Jarius Sneed and his development. Charvarius Ward was a big factor in their first Super Bowl win against us in San Francisco, in Miami, I mean. And then you look at McDuffie, you look at them acquiring Tyrann Mathieu and the impact he had, and then he leaves and they bring Justin Reed in. He has impact, and they just keep finding a way. But in San Francisco, they've been doing it with the same cast of guys, and it's just, I think, the emotional, physical toll of extra games every single year is just starting to weigh. It's starting to weigh heavy. Expectations weigh heavy. And it matters. It affects your health. When you're sitting there every time and you win games and it feels like you lost, it's like, hey, even winning games isn't good enough now. Hey, you win the game, you didn't win it good enough. Hey, you go to the Super Bowl, you didn't win it, so you guys didn't do good enough. You get to the NFC Championship after a disappointing season where you make some huge plays and make a run late, and then you fall short in the NFC Championship, and people act like you didn't even make the playoffs. And so, it's just hard. And so the panic meter is up there. It's going to take a great job of coaching from Nick Sorensen defensively. It's going to take Kyle Shanahan's best coaching job to really keep this on track. And he's done things like this before. We had injuries like this in 2019. We lost Joe Staley. We lost Mike McGlinchey. We lost Quan Alexander. We lost D Ford. We lost so many. I mean, I was out for a game in 2019. We lost a lot of guys, and he just kept finding ways. Got other guys stepping up. Next man mentality. We kept losing running backs, and then you would see Breida run well. You would see Tevin Coleman run. Then you'd see Raheem Mostert running the football, and other guys just kept stepping up. It didn't matter what happened. Guys knew the assignment, and so I'm expecting the same response from this team. It's great leadership. Guys are tough. They're going to play through these injuries if they can. Trent Williams is still working himself into shape. I guarantee you there's not a harder working human being on the planet. It's just different playing football. He's fighting as far as he can. I'm sure he's getting better. He'll be better this game than he was last game. The same with Brandon Ayuk. It was a great confidence-building game for Juwan Jennings and Brock Purdy. Hopefully the Brock Purdy injury isn't too serious, because that could have a really detrimental impact on this team's performance. But Bosa came in with a rib injury. He fought through it. He's out there toughing it through, but it just gives somebody else an opportunity. And I hope Javon is able to heal up and come back. But it's tough. The concern level with Christian McCaffrey is going up as he goes to see more specialists and try to figure out a way to overcome this. But Jordan Mason's playing good in the interim. George Kittle expected back. Hopefully Charvarius Ward is feeling healthier. Talanoa Hufanga will have another week under his belt. Greenlaw, they say, is expected back midseason. I really think quietly, that's the factor this defense is missing. The amount of intensity, speed, and attitude and just impact that Dre Greenlaw brings to the field. He's a menace He's a menace out there. And Fred Warner is that same way. But with both of them, it's chaos. It's really, guys looking around, guys head on the swivel because you don't know which one is going to come body slam you. And so without him on the field, I think they're missing something. I know Campbell's trying to do a good job. They kind of attacked him late for a touchdown with Kyron Williams, but you just need more from him. And it's unfair to ask that of him. Dre Greenlaw is an all-pro caliber player and has played that way. And when you're without that, it's evident.
Well, you talked about the cast of characters, and they're starting to have to pay these cast of characters. And in doing so, we talked about it already. You gotta cut bait with some of these guys. And one of the guys I guarantee the faithful wants back is Eric Armstead. That's a guy who was a cap casualty for this team. Let's face it. And I know he's one of your good friends. This is a guy that they need in the trenches right now more than ever. And unfortunately, he's playing in Jacksonville. Richards, it's time for our Thursday Night Football TNF preview presented by Prime Video. You're going to be heading back to New York City. I know you're fired up for that 6-hour cross-country flight that you're about to embark on. The Cowboys are taking on the New York Football Giants, who finally got in the win column, looked a lot better this past week. Prayers up for the Browns. I don't know what the heck's going on with them. But, Richard, what's your thoughts here? Vegas says this line is a 4.5-point favorite in favor of the Cowboys. What's your thoughts going into Thursday night?
Well, if history is any indicator, Dak has yet to lose to the Giants in the last 12 meetings. The last 12 outings, he's been completing 67% of his passes for 275 yards, 26 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. They're going to have to find a way to slow him down. And right now, Dallas needs a confidence boost. And I'm sure they're going to be, chomping at the bit to really be explosive offensively. You saw a little frustration between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott last week. And I'm sure they're ready to get that bad taste out of their mouth. 2 home losses. This is the perfect remedy for those ailments that they have. Run the ball. They haven't been great against the run. They haven't been great stopping the run. They haven't been great running the ball. And now this D line for the New York Jets is not to be trifled. One of the best defensive lines. You can talk about a lot of other things. This is one of the best defensive lines in football with Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau. They're going to make it really hard for this Dallas offensive line. And without Tyron Smith, it's just looked different. He brought a level of confidence, stability to this offense. They had always been, like, you looked at Dallas's offensive line for the last decade or so, a little bit more, and you've always just felt like they're one of the best O-lines in football. You know the names, the Hall of Famers, and now they don't have them, and it just feels more leaky. And so this defensive line is the only reason I believe, and Malik Neighbors really put the team on his back offensively last week, and it was really cool to say he took accountability for dropping that pass the week before. Felt like he let his teammates down, let his team down, and responded in a big way. And you love to see that from one of your young leaders and a guy who's probably going to be the face of this franchise going forward. Just being accountable and then responding in the right way. That's really inspiring to your teammates, doing things the right way. And kudos to him being able to do that. It's going to be a really tough game. It's going to be a challenge for Trayvon Diggs to keep him in check. But hopefully this is going to be a remedy for Dallas's pass rush, because they haven't been what they have been in the past. Like no hit. One hit on the quarterback. I didn't see a lot of sacks last week. They just haven't been getting home like they have in the past. They had been chaotic. Micah Parsons has 1 sack on the season right now. And at this point, you're used to him having, 2-3 sacks. Sometimes he has a 0-sack game, then a 2-sack game. Maybe this is going to be his coming out party, but they're going to need it.
They definitely are. Cowboys need to get right, and this is an opportunity for the Giants to prove themselves too. They spent a lot of their time, as you discussed, building in the trenches in the offseason. That was a point of emphasis, specifically on the D-line. So this should be an interesting game. I like the Cowboys personally, but this is this week's TNF preview presented by Prime Video. Make sure you guys watch the Cowboys take on the Giants on Thursday. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern with your guy, Richard Sherman, sitting across from me here. You get everybody. You get Carissa, Fitz, Witt, Tony. Kaylee Hartung. I mean, Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit. There's no better broadcast in sports right now than TNF on Prime Video. Make sure you guys tune in this Thursday